Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's your Impact Attack. It's fully yours. We're holding on to it for you. We'll try to return it in the condition you gave it to us, but there's no guarantees because we're a couple of roughnecks. Uh, speaking of us, who are we? I am your host, Jamie the Vet Williams, along with another host, the great Brandon, and we are not pausing for introductions today because we've got a lot to talk about. We've got Impact from whatever day that was. We've got Overdrive from last Friday, and so we've got a lot to get into. And before we, start with that, we'll say hello to the people in the chat. Brandon, if you want to say hello to the people, you can go ahead and do that right now.
Yo, thank you everybody for stopping in again for Monday night Impact Attack. We're just keeping it warm for you for the hour or so that we curated for you.
Mm-hmm.
We got Buckshot Kid tonight. Always a good pleasure to see him. Lab Rat taking time off from he's getting experimented on. Canada Spaceman taking a break from being up there and keeping an eye on the space. Javi Uchida, what's up? How you doing? Everybody in the house, let's get it, whoop, whoop.
All right, and we'll probably see Scott Woodford just now jumping in like at the last second to say hi. We love Scott Woodford. The speaking of experiment, so you may have seen Full Gear was this weekend, and I'm sure you didn't watch it, but some people may have, and the big news, I guess, coming out of Full Gear is, Maxwell Jacob Friedman is the AEW champion. And what was going around, I guess, a little bit was the, from the media scrum, which I can't believe they would still ever do these things now. But I guess, in a way, I respect it, because it's kind of like, I'm not going to let that stop what I want to do, I'm going to do these media scrums. Well, anyway, from this media scrum comes another profanity-laced tirade, this time from MJF, the champion. This time, though, it's also, 100% in character and 100%, probably completely cleared ahead of time. But nonetheless, all I see is people, talking about, oh, this is not how you do, because he's swearing a lot in this in this promo, and people have something to say about that, right? So first of all, did you see this clip or anything from this, Brandon?
I saw the I didn't watch the whole thing. I've just seen like the part of it, and I'm scrolling Facebook or Twitter, I see the thing where he's like kind of stomping around and looks like he's pissed off and yelling, but like we've seen him drop profanity-laced promos before on Dynamite. I mean, he called Tony Khan a fucking mark on air.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing new.
Yeah. It's nothing new, but you know how people are. They're gonna act like it's the first time they've seen everything, and then they start clutching their purse and saying, "Oh, this is why this company is this or that," because everybody that watches AEW and is an AEW fan, they all just watch these YouTube media scrums and they, you know what I mean?
Plus they're thinking like, hey, after the last one, let's see if we can work something like that on this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Look, just to quote a line from the rapper Demon Dice, your obsession with professionalism is staggering. And that's in reference to all these people that have something to say about, how everybody should be, doing their career, whatever that is. They've all got a comment for it, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Twitter, Instagram, any place that, you want to leave a comment. Everybody's got a comment for how you should be doing your job and what you should be doing in it, Now, some people might say, but Vet, you come on here and you tell people how to do their job all the time. Well, that's fine. I'm on a show, a publicly available show, in which I'm supposed to review things, and my opinion and your opinion, Brandon, is expected on these matters. And we're delivering it to you on a specific show where people would come to hear what we have to say about those things. We are not going, at least, I don't. We are not going to other people's pages and other people's profiles, and telling MJF, hey, you need to stop cursing or something like that. We come here because people may ask us, what do you think about this or whatever. So what we do is a little bit different. But yeah, I just the thing that everybody must know about Max is he's a total professional, 100%. If you think this is unprofessional, swearing at a fake media scrum, just know that that's exactly what he wanted to do. Whether it's good idea or bad idea, that's what he wanted to do. And since he wanted to do it, it's probably a good idea. And if he's in a situation where he's not supposed to do that, I can promise you 100% he will not do that. It's not like he's some out of control, loose cannon or whatever. He's in full control of everything. It takes a lot of control to be able to live his gimmick the way he does in the public eye. Anytime you see Maxwell Jacob Friedman, he's MJF 100% of the time. He does not break character. So that takes a lot of control. And so if someone says, hey, we need a promo, 1 minute, no cursing, he will give you a promo, 1 minute, no cursing, and it'll be the best 1 minute, no cursing promo you've probably heard. He can do exactly what you need him to do. So don't worry about MJF. Don't worry about what's professional. I'm sure, I'm probably preaching to the choir here at Hami Media Group and stuff like that. Ben had some thoughts on it this morning on the Monday Locker Room, and I don't disagree with what he says in general, but I just want to point out that, like I said, this is not mainstream. This is a random YouTube, and only the niche of the niche of the niche of the niche are the kind of people that actually seek this stuff out. And when they do seek this stuff out, this is the kind of stuff they're hoping to see. Right? And I think that's what Max knows, and that's why he does it. Because he knows that this is for those extra, inside the wrestling bubble fans. So he gave them what they wanted.
He is a smart man who knows his audience.
So, anyway, that's that. Is there any other wrestling news or any other news in general you'd like to touch upon or get into before we dive right in?
Nah, I think we got a lot of meat on the bone to get to this week.
Well, then let's get to it. And that's going to be the go home episode of Impact Wrestling. We're going to start it. Well, we're not going to start it differently. It's going to have a recap and then the intro song, right? That's how. But we are going to do something that I haven't seen, where we're having Crazy Steve come out and kind of intro Black Taurus. So there's that. It's got a little mood lighting and stuff, and the decay theme and everything like that. And then Black Taurus sure does come out, and then we get PJ Black. Now we heard he was there. We've seen it. If anybody watches BTI, you would have seen him advance in this tournament they've been having, I guess. Here we go. Black Taurus versus PJ Black. It's a lot of black in one place. Did you have any thoughts on this match or any other comments about this? Because I don't think it's a big surprise to anyone that Taurus is going to move on to face Trey Miguel at Overdrive with a win here. But did you see anything?
And I like that they had the whole thing with Crazy Steve hyping him up and kind of being his MC before the match. It kind of looks like they're kind of giving him a little bit of a push, a little bit of a character change, kind of separating them a little bit more from the Death Dolls, and they're doing their own thing as Decay. But the one thing I noticed in this match is that the double down it did not feel believable at all, especially after everything that preceded it. So it's like it would have needed to look like a car wreck between those two that took them both out rather than just double clothesline.
Double close. The match wasn't long enough, right, for it to fit.
Yes, that too.
How long would you say the match was? What was it, like 5, 6, 7?
At most.
Right. So that's one of those things. Like when when I talk about putting these matches together, and I would often famously rib Luke Gallows about his chin locks and how no matter what type of match it was and how short it was, he would have to work in a chin lock, which that's just a rib from him. He knows he doesn't need to be doing a chin lock, but we've explained the science behind the chin lock and why you would ever use one. But in a short match, you really don't need one. There's no reason to just have a seat in the middle of a short match, right? And the same thing with a double down. Like, the whole idea of a double down is these two guys are exhausted from fighting, and you've got to have anticipation, like who's going to get up first, and whoever gets to their feet first has the advantage type anticipation and stuff. And if they're not if they haven't been fighting that long, it's like, all right, just what are you guys doing laying down on the job? So those are those little psychology things that you think about that good workers exhibit. Buckshot Kid says, I like PJ Black. Look like a bit of a mix of Sin Bodhi and Paul Burchill, which is a copy and pasted comment from when he said that earlier. But yes, Buckshot, we see you. Yes, he looks like something. I don't know what the fuck he's doing with his hair and all this other stuff, but he's looked weird like this for a while. Used to be a lot more clean cut when he was in the Nexus. And then once he got out on his own, he just started being like having one of like weird handlebar mustaches and these dreadlocks and all this other stuff. He's like South African or something, isn't he?
Yep. Maybe a little overexcited about Johnny Depp winning that lawsuit.
Man, was that? I guess so. But he had this even before the lawsuit, so I can't put that on it exactly. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, he's just here to do a little bit of business, and who knows what he's going to do after this. But Taurus moves on, so there we go. This is after his initial beatings when he kind of came into Impact. Now he's starting to put together some wins, which that looks better for AAA. And now he's in a championship match, so that's good. Now we get a pre-tape contract signing, all right, with Frankie Kazarian and Josh Alexander. They've got their wives right there. They're being very nice to each other until they aren't. Just gets a little bit chippy there at the very end, and they kind of just walk out there. Any further comment on this?
I was surprised we didn't hear anything from Tracy, considering that she actually used to be she was technically like the first knockout of that company.
Yeah, that was interesting. She just sat there. They showed the camera, cut to her, reactions a couple of times, but didn't say anything. Even Josh's wife had something to say here.
Right, and then Frankie snapped at her, which kind of started escalating.
All right. And that's fine, if they want to do that, I guess. Lab Rat says, bring your wife to work day. And it is, and it's going to play into the Overdrive a little bit too, but yeah, so it's like, I don't know. Anyway, never mind. We're not really done, because they go to break after the walkout, but they come back, and Kaz he's like following Josh, and he goes to apologize for things getting a little bit, heated there and whatever. And then Bully comes up with his little trophy, of course, and like knocks on an open door frame, and they have little, he's saying, I haven't got to see you, Kaz, in a long time. One of the first people, from Impact, blah, 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 the stuff. And Kaz just kind of laughs him off like, okay, dude, and then Bully gets offended and hurt, and then he says the same thing he says to everybody, and then he just slinks off, and with his little trophy. Um, and then this was the fun part where Josh Josh says exactly what I said last week. Now I'm not going to take the credit for that because they already taped this probably. I don't think they scrambled to get everybody together and shoot a quick pre-tape because I gave them some gold or anything like that. But the fact is, it's so obvious to me that I guess it was obvious to them too. So they just finally, they were just telling their story, and I wasn't patient enough. So I called him out. But he said, "Why do I have to trust Bully Ray? That was my main point. It's like, who cares if he trusts him?
He's just an opponent, nothing more."
Yep. Well, all these people, when all these people are saying the same thing and you're thinking something else, maybe it's you. Because again, that's a little foreshadowing for what we're gonna get to a little bit later. So yeah, so here it was. I'm sure you thought the same thing too. Like, hey, wait a minute, that's what that's what the vet said. Anything else on this?
No, other than just yeah.
You like Bully's little trophy?
No, I think that itself is a little bit of foreshadowing too. Him always carrying that around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, it's like a Money in the Bank briefcase. He could cash in the trophy if he so chose at any moment. I think that's how they do it, obviously, because that's what Moose did. But it is just funny, the visual of it. It's like, it's almost like it's not, but it is.
It's kind of comical a little bit.
Right, because first of all, it's a small trophy.
It looks like a Little League trophy, yes.
Right. And there's also nothing else that you could ever do with the trophy. Like, everybody knows that you won this thing. You don't have to actually hold it. It's not like you're trading it in like the X Division Championship with Option C. You don't have to present your trophy. So you just have to imagine whatever he's doing, if he's in the back getting coffee, or does he pour the coffee in the trophy or drink out of it, so he doesn't have to hold two cups? Like, what? When would he ever? What reason would he have to do this other than this is a wrestling show, and we have to remind anybody that's only watching this particular segment that Bully Ray has this trophy? And if you don't know that, then how the hell are you going to know what the trophy is? Because it just says Bound for Glory on it, and it doesn't, there's no indication of what the reason is that he has it. So any way you look at it, it's dumb, but I'm glad they did it so I can laugh at it and point it out for content on our show.
Another possibility could be a weird roundabout rib on how everybody carries belts and briefcases everywhere they go.
It could be. But I mean, if they want to carry a belt somewhere, that's their own stupid fault. You could strap that around your waist and have two hands free. Bully just doesn't have that. He could attach it to his chain and hang it from his neck if he wants. But he doesn't do that. He just carries it. All right. So anyway, that won't be the last we'll see of his little trophy. All right. So we get a 4-way tag match. This is a Impact Classic. Aussie Open, Bullet Club, the Indian guys, and the Machine Guns. And they have a match. And, Ace Austin and Chris Bay win. And you're not going to see them for a month because they're going to be in the Super Junior Tag League, which has already, the first night of which has already taken place over in Japan. So they won't be back for a while. Yeah, any notes on this match? Anything stick out to you?
The only note I have is no point trying to follow or make sense of.
That's absolutely right. I stared right at it, and I still couldn't tell you anything that happened in it other than, like I said, the winners. Buckshot Kid says, I skipped this. And, who can blame him?
Although I think there is probably going to be a future for Bay and Austin as like a babyface tag team. So it looks like they're in line for kind of maybe a push, kind of a little bit.
Maybe kind of a little bit. I think we'll see that. Do we see that a little bit later here, or is that on the? I don't even remember. It doesn't matter. I'll just get to it as we get to it. Rosemary wants to know where Jessica is, and Taya says something about TikTok, and I didn't really get this. Maybe you can shed some more light on it.
I think the story was that Jessica's been going around Vegas, just like hitting the bars and clubs and videotaping TikTok videos of herself having a good time.
I see. Well, if anybody's sad enough to follow Jessica on TikTok, she probably is showing some of these things. Good social media integration. But that won't be me.
Yeah, it was kind of weird they didn't actually show those on the show.
Yeah, especially because there's going to be a couple of things that they show that are from the social medias. So, I mean, that's we'll get to that in a second too. But anyway, yeah, there's a little foreshadowing there. Like I said, once again to reiterate, Jessica is gone and Rosemary's concerned. Now, okay, here we get right to it. As a matter of fact, Labrat says she's sick. That's what it was. Well, kind of. So this was last week, apparently, on social, where Jordan Grace challenges Masha to a last knockout standing match at Overdrive. So this looks like it was backstage after she was, savagely jumped and beaten. And then she just, cut this promo on social media. So we do get social media interaction, and we get it here on the show, in case we didn't follow, because I don't think I follow very many people on social media that have to do anything to do with Impact.
It's like for that vignette, how hard, or that pre-tape in the back, how hard would it have been to have Taya show Rosemary her phone, and then you actually cut to the TikTok video, and then cut back to them watching the phone.
Yep. Well, and knowing Impact, you would have put it up on the full screen right there. Just cut right to the whole video. You wouldn't even have to look at her little phone. But they didn't. I guess maybe they didn't.
You had to shoot it like you got the camera over their shoulder, watching the video on the phone. But it's a full screen.
Yeah, maybe they didn't shoot one. Maybe they just said they did, and that's why they didn't do this. You would think if they did anything entertaining, they would want to put it on this show,
and have those three doing it.
Mm-hmm. But so maybe they actually didn't. I don't know. Well, those of you that have TikTok, and you don't even need TikTok. You can people post things from TikTok to other things. So anybody follows Jessica, let us know in the comments. But now we're gonna get to Tasha versus Taya. This doesn't go long. Tasha gets pinned, and then there's a schmoz, and then Jessica makes her triumphant return with one of those beer helmet things. She had what'd she have? What kind of beer did she have in it? It was like Pabst Blue Ribbon or something?
That's why I wanted to look like Pabst, yep.
Pabst or one of those type of beers. And then so she comes out and cleans house with her. She's acting more and more like ODB every week, it seems. Clearly very inspired. I'd be shocked if this was not I'm shocked if this was not leading into ODB doing something. Buckshot Kid, you miss Slavich speaking Russian, but just if I know I didn't miss anything, we're not there yet.
That'd be kind of cool to see kind of ODB kind of come back as like her mentor almost.
Oh yeah, it's something like that. Well, I mean, if you like that sort of thing. Any thoughts on this match or the beer helmet, which was pink, in case anybody was wondering?
I thought this whole Jessica comeback save the day should have been saved for the pay-per-view. Whereas her coming out and doing it now kind of felt like, well, they got this match in the bag, because if she can come out, run like this, and beat both her asses by herself, well, they're going to win this one. No reason to worry about them at the show.
And spoiler alert, that may be exactly what happened. All right. so Tommy Dreamer is talking to Josh, and for some reason, after Josh cuts the promo about why do I have to trust Bully, he still consults Tommy Dreamer on this one more time. And Dreamer says that, you know, Bully Ray is a changed man, and if I can trust him, you can trust him, is the phrase that he used. And Javi Uchia says Milwaukee's Best probably was the beer that she may have had in her helmet. I won't argue. I just I know it was something cheap. All right, so you could trust Bully. Here is the takeaway. What do you think? Tommy Dreamer sticking up for his friend. Nothing else really to say, right? Or kind of just.
I thought it was weird that have Josh come in after that whole speech of why do I need to trust him? He's my opponent.
Yeah. Now here's another social media cut where Trey Miguel cuts a very generic promo about wanting to be the X Division champion again. So short, to the point. But yeah, it shows in the little corner that this was on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. So a little more integration there. Now we get Burt Macklin versus Tommy Dreamer in an old school rules match. The kendo stick, or Singapore cane, if you will, is a signature weapon for Tommy Dreamer, so I will not disavow this match. But also because I'll get to tell you that he found something to eat even in the middle of this fight. I don't know what it was. It's like a big takeout plate of something. But yeah, Tommy had a snack even in the middle of a life or death match.
I thought that was more of a callback to that one gimmick he did back in the WWE where he's eating garbage.
Yeah, because that's where he got it, right? Wasn't it? Didn't he have it in the trash can that was at ringside?
Mm-hmm.
Did you happen to see what it was? I couldn't tell what the...
So was it a hot dog maybe? I don't remember.
It was like, he had like one of those white styrofoam containers that you'd have like Chinese food or something in. It could have been a big plate of fried rice. I don't know. But it was just, he pulled it out and started eating something, and then it ended up on the floor or on the mat or whatever. But yeah, it was like a whole plate of food. He didn't eat it all, but he ate some of it. Yeah, other stuff happened. I'm not gonna give a blow by blow. You probably, if you cared at all, you probably did watch it. Macklin wins anyway with his KIA move, which is just a DDT. It's like a double arm DDT, but he doesn't really even hook both arms. He just holds one arm up a little bit. It's like the laziest. He DDTs him on a pile of chairs. And then Bully runs in with his little trophy because, Macklin's not done. He's going to get a little extra heat on Tommy. How dare you eat in a fight with me? And then, so Bully comes in with his little trophy on the save. And Moose is right behind him. And they jump him. And so now Moose and Bert are working together again to try to put Bully through a table. And then Josh Alexander saves Bully from the table. And they work together, and they put Bert, they kick Moose's ass, and then they put Bert through the table instead. So they do a little trophy and belt exchange. Which why other than to do this, there'd be no reason for Josh Alexander to pick up that piece of shit trophy or anything. He could have just left it where it was and been like, give me my fucking belt. But they wanted to do this thing. They wanted to very, awkwardly get into this situation where they have to do an exchange, like, okay, same time. And then they go to do it. and Bully doesn't do it, he takes the trophy and holds onto the belt, and then he just holds it there for a second, and then they stare at each other, and then he gives the belt to Josh. But they wanted to plant some seed of doubt. But it definitely felt very forced in the situation, but it was fine. I get it. You know, this is your visual storytelling. I'm sure when you talked about it in the back, I'm sure Bully pitched this. I'm sure he was very proud of it. I'm sure he talked very slowly in his New York way and built it up about how awesome it was going to be. And everybody was like, yeah, fine, whatever, do whatever you want. Just stop talking. And that's what happened. So there you go. I'll turn it over to you for your opinion on the whole kind of match and post-match and everything else.
It just felt like it was more of a match to kind of give Macklin another win, get him further over while furthering the storyline at the same time. I mean, it's good that they're using matches like this to get multiple business done, multiple angles furthered. And it'll be interesting to see after what happened with the main event, after the main event at Overdrive, where Macklin and Moose go from here, considering that, well, they were kind of right.
Another, foreshadowing and spoilery. All right, now we have Gia with Masha and no music underneath, but the lights. Oh my God, this just gross,
Brutal.
looking. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, they've looked as bad or worse before, but they're still doing it. And again, this is a taping, so now that the taping's over, I could say, look, you've got a clean slate. You could turn them off. Now is the time. It's been long enough. You've prolonged this war long enough. We don't want to turn into like a Eastern European situation like we've got over there, where it's just embarrassing. Just turn off the lights and we'll forget this whole thing ever happened, and keep climbing your way out of obscurity, one tiny step at a time. But anyway, so Gia's asking questions, and Masha's answering, speaking Russian, and this is like one of those situations, like like when there's a talking, character, like an animal or an inanimate object or something, where you're like, does everybody hear this thing talking, or is it just the crazy person that's talking to? Like, I don't know if Gia understands Russian and just accepts it, or if she just asks her next question regardless. But anyway, it's funny. So yeah, but Masha's basically saying that she doesn't respect the questions that are being asked by Gia. She says this is like a question that an idiot would ask, or a question that a child would ask, which is true of every basically pro wrestling reporter question. So I like the commentary there. But the final question is, what does she expect? What does she expect at Overdrive from the last Knockout Standing match? And Masha says death. So, there you go. Someone's going to die.
For someone's career.
Or someone's career. So besides the lights, what'd you think of this? Did you like the Russians with subtitles, and Gia may or may not understand it? Maybe Gia's reading it along with us. Maybe Masha has the power to speak subtitles into existence too, so that, everyone can understand what she's saying.
Yeah, that was the only thing that was missing, is some kind of indication that Gia was able to understand what how Masha was responding and the answers that she was giving her, so that way it would make sense for the way the follow-up questioning would happen. Because otherwise, how can you have an interview if you don't a back and forth dialogue and interview if you can't understand what the person you're talking to is saying?
Right. And
but I
was going to say real quick, unlike AEW, Masha doesn't have any known translators who are right on hand that we could say that they're explaining this to Gia, but then they just cut that part out of the video.
But I did like the way this was set up. It made her. I was getting like female Drago vibes.
I see. So you think somebody's finally watched Rocky 4? Because she's not even old enough to have been born when Rocky 5 came out, let alone Rocky 4. I mean, it's good. It's good. I like Masha, so this did nothing to change that. Next is Laredo Kid versus Rich Swann.
I mean, to get over match for Swan. Really, nothing else to say about it. Nothing really much else to go into.
Poor Laredo Kid. When's gonna be his? When's gonna be his Black Taurus turnaround? You know, where he finally starts stringing them together. This didn't really have a point. I don't think we need a get over match for Rich Swann. We need a get over match for Laredo Kid. Rich Swann's over.
Yeah, beating Laredo Kid pretty much means nothing. Everybody's done it.
Yeah, Buckshot Kid says he missed this. I wouldn't blame you. If you went to get up to pee, it wasn't very long.
Yeah, so, it's like the X Division Dolph Ziggler. Everybody's beating him.
Yeah, it's not even cool anymore. We should give Laredo Kid a win over one of these jobbers. You know, like explain why he's even allowed in the building anymore.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Laredo Kid. You're 0-156. We're just gonna have to let you go. We got a lot of people here struggling to get spots, and you haven't won anything, so you know you're not cut out for this.
Yeah, even in WCW, like the job guys there had guys they would go over, so that at least they've beaten somebody before, so beating them means something.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like this whole thing seemed like an afterthought. So. And neither one of these guys has anything going on, you know.
I mean, it looked like there might have been doing something with Swan where he was kind of like, I never got my rematch, and he was hanging around Alexander for a bit, but then that never went anywhere.
Yeah, or at least got paused. All right, so Taylor Wilde and Mickey discussed last week in another instance of time standing still for 7 days. You know, and nobody talks to each other unless it's on camera on a weekly show. So whatever they had to say, it could have waited. It could have waited for 7 days until now, and it did. So I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention, but it's just the same old bullshit. Like Taylor walks off saying, "I want to be the one to end your career," or something like that. They have to put a little tiny bit of spice on all these babyface matches, but I don't even think it matters.
Nobody believes Taylor Wilde's going over Mickey.
No. Unless. No. Then we get a package for Josh and Kazarian. This is like a pre-made package, but it somehow includes footage from the contract signing that was on earlier in the show. So, it's kind of silly, I think, if you take a look at it. But yeah, that's fine. All right.
She was actually finally given her release, I believe.
Yeah, and he's looking. He's we're talking about Lady Frost here. Buckshot Kid had a comment about her not being on the Impact roster page. Not like I ever looked for it, except you did. All right. The main event here on this show is Eric Young versus Sami Callihan, who I didn't mention, but earlier they showed one of those, those little backstage things where they show him like he's warming up, but really it just looked like he was bent over and struggling to breathe. But so this is the Double Jeopardy match where the only way that you can win is to first get busted open, and then you're eligible for a pinfall or a submission. Well, we already saw Old School Rules here
right
tonight, so bad editing job. Could have put these matches on different nights, perhaps at this set of tapings or whatever, but no, let's do two garbages. Yeah, so hold on a second. Guys, this is going to be one of those times where I didn't think, for most part, I was pretty. I mean, Impact to me is never what I would consider to be great, but I didn't really have too many problems with the show. Just a lot of like minor nitpicks, or just saying stuff like, why does Rich Swann have a pointless match, or whatever like that. But for this, Elaborate, you probably already know where I'm going with this. I'm not going to be able to make it through this recap without one of these. So, so Sammy gets jumped on the ramp by, Violent by Design, and they beat him up and they cause him to bleed right away before the match even starts. And I guess that counts, because even if you wanted to say, hey, this didn't happen within the bells, it's too late. He's already bleeding. What are you going to do? Make him bleed? Hey, you got to make him bleed from a different part of his body. They're not going to do that. So here we go. Sami Callihan. Okay, so they're doing a bunch of stuff. All right, and Sami Callihan. At one point, he has like a photograph of like a large 8x10 photograph of something. I didn't quite see what it was. Did you happen to make out what was on that photograph?
I did not. No, it was weird that he even pulled it out.
That's what she said. But in any case, he has this big photo, and he uses the photo to drag across Eric Young's open mouth to like give him a paper cut on the corners of his mouth, I guess.
Why are we doing this?
Hey, idiot. You had a snow shovel in the trash can with the photo. Why don't you take the snow shovel out and stick it in his mouth, you fucking moron? That's a little more dangerous than a paper cut. Also, how is he supposed to sell it? How do you sell the corners of your mouth? Like, no one cares. If you get a paper cut in a fight, you're not going to be grabbing your mouth because there's like tiny cuts on it. What are you doing? But are we really surprised at this point?
No, not really. It's Sami Callihan.
It's Sami Callihan. So Sammy bites Eric and gives him a Death Valley driver on the apron, and Eric comes up bleeding. I don't know what he thought was supposed to bust Eric Young open of those two things, but neither one is the kind that gives you the razor blade thin line across your head with blood pouring down all of your, like if you bit him once, that's not what the blood is going to look like. And if you get dropped on your head, on the top of your head, on the apron, you're probably not going to be bleeding from the forehead. But, excuse me for a moment. It wouldn't be a hardcore Sami Callihan match if he didn't chop somebody at the chest after all this. No rules, but I'm gonna slap you in the titties. Yeah, he wins. Sammy wins, that is, after a couple of pile drivers. You're not gonna beat anybody with just one pile driver, especially not Eric Young, master of the pile driver. So, 2 pile drivers. He wins, and here comes Violent by Design to stare at the beaten and bloody Eric Young, who's lying in the ring looking pathetic, and they're all staring at him like, what have you done? And my question is, after you beat up Sami Callihan, where were you guys at? Why did you leave? Why didn't you just beat the shit out of him the whole time, 4-on-1, and help him win the match then? I mean, wouldn't that make sense? I mean, I ask this question every time this situation comes up.
Makes too much sense.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway. So Eric Young he's old, and he's hurt, and he's fucking tired, and he works with fucking children, and they're all just staring at him like it's his fault. I guess it is. It's his fault. He's a bad leader. If he was a better leader, he would have said, hey, beat him up for me.
Eric Young couldn't manage a target.
Eric Young couldn't manage a target. So, I tell you, more than 3 guys in yellow sweatshirts work at Target, and you can't even deal with that. So there's your go home. But what that means is we don't have to worry about looking at Sami Callihan on the Overdrive pay-per-view. So that's a plus. There it is. Now, well, before we get to Overdrive, I'll just ask if you thought that this was a worthwhile go-home show, or did anything to increase anticipation for Overdrive.
My only question is, why would you close your go-home show with something that's not even happening on the show? That made absolutely zero sense. It would have made it would have
what they like to do.
It would have made more sense to close with the Dreamer Macklin match and have that thing with Bully and Alexander close the show.
Yes, it would have. Now, that being said, that would be a big. The match itself would be like if you were to put the old school rules match in the main event, that would be in terms of spectacle, that would be a downgrade because you're not going to have guys bleeding and stuff like that. So you have guys bleeding in the middle of the show,
or you don't have that match on the same show as the
right, which is what that's what they should have done too. So
then that way you can have Dreamer and Macklin be able to do more and create more of a spectacle.
Yeah. Now, on the other hand, if you bury the moment with Bully and Josh doing the exchange in the middle of the show or earlier, you give people more time to forget about it, before anything happens on the actual pay-per-view. So I don't know, dude. This is all just
instead of that being the last image you see before the pay-per-view.
Yeah. It's Monday evening quarterbacking. We know that. Ultimately, it's not going to matter. Anybody that's watching Impact, they just, they already know what to expect, and they're not going to. It is funny to because I don't know if you watched the countdown. Did you watch the countdown to Overdrive?
No.
Okay. Well, I went to YouTube to look at it, and there was the comment section, just like the comment section we have here. They got people who are like, the ultimate insiders and stuff, and they've got the little badges and icons next to their name and stuff like that. All these Impact fans, like a lot of people chatting. Even on the archived video, they have the chat on there, so you can see what people were saying when it was live. And there was some guy coming in there that was like AEW for life, and like he's just and they're all just like, sir, we are here to watch. Like the Impact fans are so polite and civilized. Like, sir, we are here to watch Overdrive. Like it's kind of funny.
Full gears later this weekend, sir.
Yeah, that's what the guy was on. It's like, so it was interesting to see that, the community, as it were, the Impact community. I'm still not sure. I didn't get necessarily a full handle on what they're all about, but I may be looking into that in the future. I may be spying on the little Impact YouTube community and seeing, like what those fans are saying, because I can't imagine regular people watching this on regular TV, other than the ones that tell me they do, you know. But what is an Impact fan, really? So I got to delve more into that. But anyway, on the Countdown show, not a lot to report. There was a cluster match with it was Speedball versus Kenny King versus Jason Hotch. Versus yes, exactly. He's that guy that looks like that other guy that I don't remember his name still. Versus Rich Swann versus Yuya Uemura versus Bhupinder Gujjar. So there you go. A lot of fun. Swann. The interesting thing here was Rich Swann gets the pin on Hotch after Kenny King is in there, and he sees Rich Swann, and then he kind of gives him the okay, I'm backing off thing, and just lets him beat the other guy because he doesn't care about winning the match. He's got his thing with Speedball, so he goes out after Speedball on the floor, and they don't really follow up on that, but they just show Rich Swann getting the win because Kenny King allowed it, sort of. So you know, he hit his springboard cutter thing and beat that kid. And then the other match was the Motor City Machine Guns versus the Bullet Club. And the Guns were now, because the taping is over, now they're wearing their New Japan Strong open weight tag team title belts. And I didn't really recall or hear if the belts were on the line in this match, but you know, they won the match. The Motor City Machine Guns won the match anyway, so it doesn't matter. So there's your little, there's your little pre-show. They want a strong pre-show. To Buckshot Kid's point. Oh, Scott Woodford says he's part of the Impact community. All right. Well, then I'll be going to you for more information in the future. And don't be afraid to chime in. All right, you watch Overdrive. So now we're getting to Overdrive. And we're kicking it off with a tables match. Bully versus Moose. This is Bully's 89th table match. Who the hell found out how many... Did they just go to like... What's that? Cagematch.com and just count all the times the Bully... Even that's a little bit sad. But yeah. But it's Moose's first match, so that's easy for us to count. Buckshot Kid says, I'm tired of seeing Moose in matches like this. Yeah, you and me both, brother. Yeah, there was... So, you know, this was... Look, Bully kind of, you know, at this point, Bully knows what he's doing. Moose knows what he's doing. This is just a, you know, it's a nice little whatever this is. I will say that Moose hit Bully with that, you know, he does that where a guy's sitting on the top rope and Moose hits him with a drop kick, like the Okada. Well, he kicked Bully with it, and Bully just sold it like shit, dude. He just took it, and he just like kind of slumped over to the side. Like, I understand if you don't want to take the bump, you know, and fall on the outside, but could you at least like animate yourself a little bit more? Like, can you rock back and maybe pinwheel to show that you got kicked instead of just sitting there like a beanbag chair? Anyway, of course, Bully wins, but it took too long because there was a spot where Bully goes to spear Moose through a table and Moose falls out of the way and Bully crashes through the table and Moose thinks he won. And the referee has to tell him that, no, you didn't win. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then some other stuff happens.
I thought that made Moose look pretty stupid. Like, you didn't know the rules. You had to put the other person through the table instead of just dodging him.
Yeah, and then the commentary, you know, it's like, well, Moose has never been to the table. All right, fine. So, but then the match went on for like too long after that. just to get to the finish. The finish should have been that happens. Moose appeals to the referee and then goes to pick like once he realizes he hasn't won, he goes to pick Bully up, and then Bully can like pick him up by the legs and spear him through the table or something like that. It should be immediately because there's no point in dragging it out after that. You're probably not going to have that guy win the match after he's already thought he won the match and lost and didn't win. Like it's, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, the only point in dragging that out is if Moose would have ended up going over, and he didn't.
No, he didn't. So there you go. And really nothing post match. Nothing else to say.
That would have been a spot for Macklin to run out again, if anything.
If anything. Although having no Macklin, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Are you fine with Gia doing a Zoom call with Tracy and Rebel in the middle of this pay-per-view? Like, hey, we just wanted to highlight the fact that you ain't here. And your husband's in a match, but you're not here in the building. We just want to point that out. Like, what'd you think of that? You like that? Good move?
I mean, at least it explained why she was not there.
Did it?
Well, I mean, if you saw Josh's wife there and not her, and then it would kind of, I don't know.
We don't want to have it.
It's weird that they cover some holes, but not others.
Yeah.
Like this felt like I mean, it was a hole, but it was an unnecessary cover. Like they didn't have to cover this one.
Right. I would just say put this shit on the pre-show.
Yes, pre-show. Perfect spot for it.
But, even if she was there, what was going to happen? Like, we can't talk about it yet. We're not there yet. Anyway, just a weird spot. All right, Knockouts tag title match. It's Tasha and Savannah against the Death Dolls. And the first thing I notice is there's a quite tall female referee in this. I don't recall having seen her before, but I think she's taller than everybody in this match. So that kind of stood out. And she's blonde, so that stands out. Have we seen this person before?
I don't think so either. Nope.
Kind of feel like you would remember having seen her before. Yeah, and why is she a referee? Like, can we just look? They taught Kevin Nash to do a back elbow and a big boot. Like, come on, let's do something with her. What's going on here? All right. The Death Dolls win this match with teamwork and without incident whatsoever. So whatever the storyline they were playing up, or all this stuff about is Jessica going to be reliable, or is she turning into an alcoholic, or whatever, none of it came into play here. Straight up tag match, Death Dolls win straight up, no controversy, no nothing.
It should have been, the buildup should have been Jessica leaving them high and dry. Are they going to be okay? Rosemary has to fill in for, looks like they're getting beat, and then Jessica comes in at the clutch to save the day.
No, terrible idea. Let's just have the Death Dolls win straight up against people that used to be the focus of the women's division.
Right. This whole angle like pretty much buried Savannah and Tasha, like, in my opinion, at least.
It's unfortunate, but at least it wasn't long. All right. So now, we get a backstage interview where, not an interview, a little vignette or whatever, where the Bullet Club and the Machine Guns are discussing title shots. Because, I don't know why they just lost a second ago. So now they're talking about getting a title shot, and it should be like, no, you don't get any title shots. And then the major players come in and they say something. I don't know. I wasn't listening. And what my main takeaway from this, who cares about any of the stuff that they're saying at all, really? My main takeaway from this is that they had these light tubes on the floor. I don't know if they were fluorescent lights, but they were like short tube-shaped light apparatuses that just shined a little bit of light up off the ground. not like the ones that they've been using. And I have a picture of it, and that will be tweeted out later. But yeah, did you notice that there's a slightly different approach to the lighting here than they've had now with these new tube gimmicks?
I did notice that like we didn't have the brightly different colored ones that like the purple and the green and the pink that we've been having like before and the blue.
Yeah, this is just kind of yellow light. The color light is supposed to be usually, I guess. I don't know. Um, all right, a package. Then Taylor Wilde versus Mickey James, with Mickey James' retirement on the line. Mickey James wins. Do I have to recap this? I don't really need to say it. It was okay. And then afterwards, Deanna comes in with the mic, and she channels her inner MJF and starts cussing out Mickey James. She calls her a selfish bitch, and that this is bullshit. And I guess Deanna's next. I guess she's next in line to try to retire Mickey. So there's that. Yeah. Any thoughts on any of this?
I mean, I've been noticing like Mickey's matches during this have been kind of clunky and sloppy, and this was no different.
Is well, this is Taylor Wilde we're talking about. Is it anything to do with the quality of opponent, or do you think Mickey is the common denominator here, and it really is time for her to wrap it up?
I think it could be a combination of both.
Okay. Well, let's
like,
keep an eye on the situation as it develops.
Because, like, say if it was, let's see, if it was Mickey and Gail, much better match.
Gail now or Gail in her prime?
That's still Gail now after, if she, after, so knocking off some ring rust.
I assume she could still go. All right, another package. Then Heath and Rhino versus the major players. Okay, for the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, not Knockouts, just the Impact Tag Team Championships. Might as well be the Knockouts. Some major players are a couple of divas. The Guns have they do the old bring out chairs and sit on the ramp deal. And then the major players get preoccupied with that, and then Myers gets gored. And Heath and Rhino retain their Impact Championship Tag Team belts. Any further elaboration on this?
Nah, it kind of looks like we're going to see Heath and Rhino just keep racking up wins so they have a heel team ready that's or at least got enough heat to take them off them.
So the major players don't have enough heat?
No.
Just existing? They don't have enough heat to believably... It'll probably be them after a series of tries.
And it's also tough to take them seriously as heels after Impact was pimping out their toy drive. Like, how can we hate these guys? They're doing a toy drive.
Well, this is that sort of that's wrestling. All right, so Bullies with Gia, no music underneath. He cuts an expository promo just to let everybody know all the situation that's going on in the storyline. He does make sure to put Moose over and say that Moose brought it. But essentially he's just, he's doing it. He's doing the whole thing like, hey, in case you've been living under a rock, I said what I was going to call my shot, and I'm calling my shot no matter who wins, and good luck to everybody, and all that stuff. So, Scott Woodford says they're going back to WWE. Do you have some sort of inside scoop on the major players, or are you just saying that that's what you believe, Scott Woodford?
I have actually heard reports that apparently, all three of them and Chelsea have been in talks about going back. That's the rumor I've heard, at least.
Okay. Well, kind of running out of room over there, but I also would say that, Impact hasn't really taken a great advantage of having Cardona on these shows. Now, he was hurt for a period of time. So I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I don't know.
There's still plenty he could have done with him. That dude is creative and talented enough. He doesn't have to be in the ring to be on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But so Crazy Steve intros Black Taurus again, and Trey Miguel on the entrance is so slow. He why not? Maybe can you play the entrance video at 0.75 speed? Could he keep up with it then, do you think? Or would you have to drag it all the way down to half speed?
Who knows, man? That's one of the highlights of watching him trying to match that.
Yeah, it is. All right. So the X Division title match here. At one point, Taurus missed a flying knee to the buckle, and he took the bump outside. And then, like, as he was falling on the outside and landed, he immediately, like, grabbed his knee pad and, like, pulled up his knee pad.
Yep.
Like, adjusting his... So I bring this up because this was another topic of conversation coming out of Full Gear, because Jade Cargill, was criticized because she had a very nice, elaborate Cheetara from Thundercats costume at Full Gear, but apparently, she was constantly having to adjust it, like pull like the bra piece up, or adjust her underwear, or not underwear, but like the whole thing's a thong. It's like a thong singlet. So she's like constantly moving it around and just like trying to keep from falling out of this thing. And people were pointing that out. And the one spot where she's like hanging over the rope waiting for Nyla Rose to do her knee drop, and then she's like brushing her hair and like adjusting her chest and like all this stuff while she's supposed to be selling and incapacitated. And now people want to talk about this. I'm like, I'm sorry, have you guys never seen any of my shows? I've been saying this for years. I've been saying this since I had my own podcast before HMG about people that are always brushing their hair and adjusting their outfits. Like, you're acting like she invented it. She's not even the worst at this. Roman Reigns is doing this in fucking WWE main events. Don't worry about Jade Cargill. She's had 30 matches. This is not even worth bringing up. Black Taurus did this, which no one's going to care because it's Black Taurus and no one, they're not watching this shit. But, I'm just saying, like, this kind of stuff happens all the time. So all you people that think you caught Jade Cargill doing something, try putting your eagle eyes on everybody else in the wrestling business that thinks that adjusting their gear is more important than selling. I don't know what Black Taurus's knee pad being 2 inches further down would have done for him as he's trying to sell falling out of the ring from the top rope. But, I'm sure you would have had a chance to pull it up later when you get back on the offense. Anyway, he did base perfectly for Trey on his follow-up, which was a step up, flip over the ropes into a Rana on the outside. And Black Taurus is one of those guys, you're not going to see him do the alligator arm things and not catch a guy. That's exactly what he's going to do, is catch a guy. So he's going to be right there for all that stuff. And then, in a shocking turn, Trey Miguel wins with spray paint in the face. And then his move, the lightning spiral or whatever it's called, but mostly the spray paint. Now, the way this happened was somehow he smuggled a can of spray paint into the ring and was hiding it. And when Black Taurus went to, like, he was like hugging it to his body. And then when Black Taurus went to go get him, and the referee's watching this in full view of the referee this whole time. And and Trey takes the cap off of the spray paint can and throws it out of the ring, like across the ring, and it rolls out of the ring. And the referee, like a fucking dog that just saw a tennis ball get thrown, just immediately goes over to chase after it so that Trey can spray Black Taurus in the face. I'm sorry, hold on. What the fuck was that? That guy should be fired. I know it wasn't his spot, but he should be fired. That was the worst referee distraction spot I've ever seen in my entire life. I can't even believe that made television. Like, in real life, if something like that happened in a combat sport, and the official that's officiating the combat sport, if he saw one of the guys throw something out of the ring, he would look at the thing and then look back at the guy and say, like, what the fuck was that? He's not going to go chase after it like a cat, you know what I mean, with a ball of yarn.
Laser point.
No questioning it. He's just like intently looking at the waist lock that Black Taurus has, like, oh, he's got him. Oh, excuse me for a moment. Something flew through the ring. Terrible. Fucking terrible. I hate all of you. Every one of you. I'm so mad that you're gonna be hearing it for weeks now. And if I see one of those fucking lights come on, then I will ruin every one of your lives personally on social media. Anyway, Trey Miguel is the X Division champion. You have any thoughts on that?
With the way they were kind of building up and setting up Taurus, I thought he was going to be the one to turn heel and take the X Division title.
I mean, he doesn't even have to turn all that much. He's already got an evil gimmick, supposedly. Oh, just the fun-loving demons. The fun-loving demons from hell, Decay. We all love them. They're for the kids. It wouldn't have been much of a turn. But, wow. All right. Let's move on. Frankie Kazarian's doing Stevie Richards Fitness. Josh is sitting with his family, and then he kind of gets up and leaves them there. And I was looking at the clock, and it's like, there's an hour and a half left in the show, and where are you going? Sit your ass back down. Gonna leave the wife and kid in the back. All right, package then. Last knockout standing. Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich. So at this point, this is like the third hardcore match I've seen in 2 shows here. So I get it that I'm watching it all at once, and it was actually spaced out a little bit more, but not really, because there was 2 hardcore matches on one show on the other show. But at least if you had been watching in real time, it would have been 1 day since then, 1 whole day. But anyway, yeah, it's still 3 in 2 days. I don't care what the stipulation is. If there's something where you can't get disqualified, it's all hardcore matches. It doesn't matter how you win. It's all the same thing. Yeah. I'm not going to say too much bad about this match, because even with, even amongst all the Impact matches of things with tables and whatever. Actually, yeah, with the tables match, that'd be like the 4th one, right? I completely forgot about that. I still think that this one had less of the egregious things that I don't like in the match. And the only common denominator for that is Masha Slamovich, because when I watch the matches that she's in, no matter who she's in there with, I feel like they're different. So if she's always in the matches that feel different, I have to give her the credit for that. I've seen Jordan Grace have matches. I've never been impressed, really, and I would expect that there'd be a lot of stupid shit in matches like these. And for all I know, the stupid shit that is in this match was her idea. So, I don't know. But they actually did work hard and had some psychology to this. Because Grace worked Masha's leg early on. She's kind of acting like a heel. And Masha's almost sympathetic. Only difference is we saw what Masha did to Jordan Grace 2 weeks ago or whatever it was. So there's a reason for Jordan Grace to be acting because it's retribution. It's not just like, oh, I just decided to change my attitude all of a sudden.
Yeah, she's not being vicious and douchey for being vicious and douchey's sake.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's not coming out of nowhere like Trey Miguel or whatever. Like, how dare you, Black Taurus? I'm going to get you with spray paint. So she's actually like chopping the leg down or whatever. And even though that every time somebody gets their leg worked on in a match, they always ignore it long enough to get all their shit in and then go back to selling it. This is still one of the more, it's more believable than most of the Seth Rollins matches I saw where he was doing the same thing. So, but eventually, and there was some wardrobe fixing here. I saw Masha, unfortunately, I caught you, grabbing the back of your jeans and slightly pulling them up, even though nothing was exposed or anything. You just felt self-conscious and wanted to hike up your jeans a little bit while you were on the ground, supposedly hurt. I caught you. I saw it. Don't try to deny it. But then the finish was, they laid a door. Listen, hold on. I'm sorry. I have to take another bite just for saying that out loud. Hold on. They laid a door across the ring, and what was the other thing? The stairs or something else? No, it wasn't the stairs because they used the stairs. They laid a door out, and Masha climbed up the stairs on the outside and muscle busted Masha through the door. And Masha tried to stand up, and she fell down at the count of 9 because her leg gave out. So they tried to tell a story. They tried to have psychology. They tried to sell. I mean, they did what they could. It was what it was. It wasn't bad. It wasn't great. I don't like these type of matches. I like Masha, but she loses again. And I really don't know what else to say about it. I feel like I've covered all the points that I cared to cover.
I just didn't like Masha not going over. Like, where does she go from here? Like, the mystique is now kind of gone now. Kind of feels like Rusev all over again, ironically.
Right. Well, at least Rusev got, I think he got one win.
Oh, he had a very big win.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It'll be fine, but yeah, I don't like it. But hey, that's just me picking a favorite. At least they bothered to build her up to a point, even if it was just to feed her to Jordan Grace. It's not something I would have done, but that's because of my personal feelings on the matter and everything else. So, it's up to them. That's their company. They can do that. And at least they gave Masha the build up to where she feels like something now.
Right. At least it didn't feel like a throwaway victory for Jordan. At least it felt like she beat somebody.
Right. And if Masha Slamovich just has one of those things where Jordan Grace is just that one person that I can't, that I can't beat, then they can turn that into something later if she ever beats her down the line. If that's the one person that Masha can't get over on, then the fans, if the fans get behind her and really want to see her do it, they might do it in the future. And Jordan Grace will have nothing to say because she put you over. So now it's your turn. Don't be a Shawn Michaels. So
Be a stone cold.
all right, now I'm almost out of muffin here. I don't know if I want to start a whole other one just for this, but I have some crumbs left. So they announced the IPWF Throwback Throwdown 3 at this point, and they're showing, for some reason, the camera is at floor level, and they're just showing like the fans' feet and like a bottle of Coke that's sitting on the ground. I'm like, what does this have to do with anything? Clearly, somebody in the truck was missed their cue. But all right. Well, next up, a package, and then it's Kazarian versus Josh Alexander for the Impact World Title. I mean, this is what you'd expect. That's the only way I can describe the match. I'm not going to bother going through the blow by blow, not only because I barely paid attention to it, but part of the reason I barely paid attention to it is because I know what to expect. And every time I looked at it, I was like, that's what I expected. You know these guys are going to have a good match. You know they're going to do stuff. It's going to be the kind of match that people have these days. It's not going to be the kind of match I want to see, but it's going to be good enough with two guys that pretty much know what they're doing and don't need any help from me. They're making their own decisions like big boys. So, okay. And I know that Frankie Kazarian probably ain't going over. Did they do enough to put a little doubt in your mind that he could go over? I might have thought so. But this whole cloud of Bully Ray talking about being trusted and all this stuff is telegraphing it so hard that Frankie Kazarian's an afterthought. So if Bully wasn't involved in any of this, I might have believed it. Hi, Liz. If you go back and watch the replay, you'll see me have a muffin moment or several. So yeah. So that the match here, there's almost no point in even talking about it. That being said, do you want to talk about it for a second?
There was one spot in there I thought was kind of cool with some storytelling, and his character was when Frankie picked up the belt and was thinking of hitting Josh with it, and then Josh's wife's at ringside begging him not to do it.
Oh yeah, that shit. Yeah, I actually don't like that because the way they do it, it's so corny and non-believable and cliched, like the wrestling acting from Frankie.
And if anybody should have been telling him, it should have been his wife, not Josh's.
Yeah. Don't hit my husband. Ah, you're right.
Like, or what kind of example are you setting for our son?
Right. Well, apparently, he didn't have a phone to do a Zoom call or anything like that anywhere nearby, so that couldn't have happened. Yeah, dude, I just, when you see shit we're over this. Like, we're over the spot where guys are conflicted about their emotions and have to, do the whole big overacting, overselling. I can't do it.
Sophie's Choice, as Ben calls it.
Yeah. It's not really much of a choice. Just believe in the match that you guys put together, Just do that. Don't try to add any theatrics. We're going to have enough of that in a second. Unfortunately, the other thing I noticed about this match was that they tried to do the double bridge late in the match and they couldn't do it. It was like 35 minutes plus of a match. It was right around 40-minute match, and they tried to bridge up and couldn't. They fell.
I did notice Cass seemed a little sloppy in this match. Like, his leg drops were like not landing correctly. Like, there's one time where I think he did the spinning one off the second rope, and he caught Josh across the face with one of his legs.
He might have. I kind of saw a little bit of that, but I mean, is that because he doesn't go this long, or it doesn't work enough? Probably both.
Yeah, he definitely seemed a little gassed.
So, well, anyway, it's fine. I couldn't do it, so I'm not gonna talk too much shit. So, at any rate, uh, Josh Alexander wins. Um, and looking at the clock. Now, of course, I'm not supposed to be able to look at the clock because I'm supposed to be watching this live, right? But because I didn't, I could see how much time is left. And when I see that going into this match, there's like over an hour left on the time, I'm like, well, these guys ain't doing an hour. I know that. So that right there also telegraphed something, but I'm not going to hold that against them because that has nothing to do with them. But yeah, so Bully comes out with his little trophy, okay, and he gets on the mic and he says the stuff that he says exactly what he said he was going to do back then. I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to challenge you at Hard to Kill. And just like I promised, and then he also calls Josh the most credible champion on the planet, which, what does credible mean if you're not talking about wrestling being fake? Like, anybody would not need to call a champion credible. You know what I mean? They don't call Tom Brady like a credible quarterback in the NFL. So, like, unless wrestling isn't real, why would you say credible? And I would think that somebody like Bully Ray would be more aware of things like that. But I guess, when you have this whole post wrestling career of going on Busted Open Radio or whatever and just exposing the business constantly on a daily basis, you just forget sometimes when you actually have to do a promo that we're not supposed to say things like that. I don't know. But anyway, so like I said, he makes the challenge and then they shake hands and everybody's happy, and Josh Alexander is, he leaves the ring and it's all fine and it looks like the show's getting ready to go off the air. I'll give them that. They did a good job of making it seem like this was the end of the show. Again, if I'm not looking at it seeing there's 7 minutes left, like, I would just assume that nothing's going to happen. So I'll give them that at least. And then Bully comes from off screen from behind and just hits him while he's out on the floor, So that's good. And then he, drags him over to in front of his wife and beats him with a chair a bunch of times. The kid's gone. I don't know where the kid would have went or who would have took the kid. But I know that the kid's not old enough to realize that this shit ain't really happening to daddy. So, we got to get him out of here. He's going to be traumatized for the rest of his life. So he's not there, but the wife is there. He zip ties Josh to the ring rope. And I think they have a planned spot. And then in trying to pretend to break free from the rope, Josh actually does break free. So things maybe get changed on the fly a little bit. But yeah, so the savage beating and all this stuff. Now, this is where all of your heavy storytelling and telegraphing comes back to bite you, because so you mean to tell me that everybody in this building, including like the janitors and the parking attendants and everybody that's ever been in Impact ever, has come up to Josh and told you, stop putting Candace Spaceman's weird non sequitur comments over. All these people have come and told you, hey, you can't trust Bully Ray. Now he's bludgeoning a man after a match in front of his family. And where is everybody? Where is literally everybody? Shouldn't they have just been all at the curtain waiting to see what Bully Ray was going to do when he went out there? Just in case? And now this man is getting beaten to death and nobody's there. Security's not there.
Kazarian, he should be right there.
Kazarian's not there. I mean, we know his wife's not there, but I mean, where is everybody? Seriously, where is everybody? You all told him that he couldn't be trusted, and now what? Are you mad at him? And you're just like, well, this is what you get. You didn't believe me. You know, like what is the reason for this? What is the reason that this is allowed to go on for such a period of time? And then when he ends up dragging the wife over the rail, and now he's using it like a hostage situation. Like, I'm gonna pile drive her if you don't move, or I'll give her a pile driver on the concrete.
And what's there to negotiate? He has his title shot.
Yeah. What is he even doing? This is what made me think that it's like this may have gone off the rails after that zip tie broke or something. Maybe
it seemed like it got kind of awkward right after that.
Yeah, but I still don't see what it would have been even if he had still been zip tied to it. Like, why was he zip tying it to it? Was it because he just they wanted to do a spot where he probably wanted to do the spot where he gives his wife a pile driver and he can't move because he's zip tied to the ring. That's probably what they would have wanted to do. And then they couldn't do that exactly. So they tried to do this other shit. So maybe I'll give him a pass. And I'm also out of my muffin. So I guess I won't, I won't eat that. But yeah, so he's like, he's holding her hostage. Like, you couldn't stop. Like, if you were conscious enough and within 5 feet, you couldn't stop him from giving her a pile driver. You could definitely make it over there. It's not like, but he's acting like he has a gun. And, it's the same thing. Like, he picks up the chair and, he's holding the chair over the wife, who's now like on top of Josh Alexander on the floor. And he's holding this chair and he's like, don't move. At this range, I won't miss. Like, what are you talking about? It's a chair. What do you mean at this range? What do you think? What do you think you have in your hands right now? And again, nobody's coming out to help. This goes on for an uncomfortably long time, and nobody's out there. So this whole thing just, to me, it immediately, I'm just like, you fucked this whole thing up real bad. It's embarrassing. I know what they wanted to do. I know what Bully was trying to do. It's unfortunate that things didn't go off the way that they were supposed to, but let's pretend for a second that the drama was supposed to be that Josh had to watch his wife get pile driven into concrete while he helplessly watched. That still doesn't explain why the entire locker room didn't flood out there and kick the shit out of this guy. It's not going to explain why Bully is not fired by Scott D'Amore the next time that, even if he waited a week until the next episode of Impact to do it. Like, there's no statement released of, like, not condoning the actions, or that, I don't care.
Or a camera following D'Amore into Bully's locker room saying, you're fired, get the hell out of here.
Yep. I'm not, I don't give a shit what gauntlet you won or what little trophy you've been carrying around. You're fired. Like, nothing that would happen, any remote sense. They're trying to build drama, but nobody believes it. And whatever happens in a wrestling match isn't gonna, like, dude, you threaten my wife. Forget the match. You're not gonna make it to the match. The match is in January, if I'm not mistaken. Hard to Kill? I think it's in January.
I believe so. They said January. Yep.
Yeah, he's not going to survive until December. Bully Ray's going to be dead, and his body's going to be found before we even get past Thanksgiving at this point. This is just so, like, but then they're going to have a fake wrestling match at Hard to Kill. And it'll probably have some stipulation on it, but it won't matter because it's ridiculous. They try to build drama, they take it way too far, and then a wrestling match ain't going to cut it. It's not going to cut it. Doesn't matter what you do. What are you gonna do? Are you gonna get an 8x10 photo and give him a paper cut in the mouth? What the fuck is wrong with these people? it sucks. This fucking shit sucks. I'm about to, damn near about to. Oh no, I'm just gonna save that muffin for later. I got a banana nut one ready to go, but so yeah, just whack. It's whack. It's all whack. So what can you do? Any final closing thoughts on Overdrive, Impact, the state of wrestling in general, or anything else in the world?
I mean, I thought Overdrive was a passable show. I mean, nothing really noteworthy until the finish.
What would you give would you give a match of the night, or everything equally plain?
Yeah, everything was kind of its own thing. Nothing really stood out.
All right. Well, Scott Woodford says, I'm whack and I liked Overdrive. I don't care if you liked it, as long as you understand what I'm saying. And as long as you understand that Impact Wrestling is never going to go anywhere unless they start doing something different than everybody else does with this sports entertainment bullshit. We all get it. We were all raised on the WWE and we were brainwashed to just accept shit like this. But I think it's time for something different. Wrestling it's in a critical state. It needs to survive. And if it's going to survive, it has to do things differently than it's ever done before. We have to really look at, if everybody thinks this shit is fake, we have to go back to somewhat a realism or somewhat not insulting people's intelligence. If we do things that wrestling fans just accept as part and parcel of watching this kind of stuff, then nothing will ever change. And the people who ask questions like, why would you do that? Why is that? That looks stupid. Why would you do that? Why? That's fake. You know, like if you don't address those people's attitudes, you're never going to change because the other people are going to stick with you regardless. It's not like any wrestling fans are going to get mad if you do something more realistic. They just don't get it. They don't, you know, they don't see anything else. So they just accept it. But you have to change the perception or do something to make it just more viable. They try to manufacture all this drama because they're worried that people aren't paying attention, and less people are paying attention than ever because your manufactured drama is not as good as other movies or TV shows or stuff that are just simply much better at doing it than professional wrestling. Why would I want to? I can see bad acting anywhere. I don't need to see it in pro wrestling. You know what I mean? I don't need to see Frankie Kazarian pick up a belt and go, I don't know, guys. Should I? You know, like, I could just watch Sharknado 6 or something. Like, I don't have to watch wrestling for bad acting. So, just a little bit more thought into the presentation would be nice. And if Impact starts doing it and nobody else does, then Impact can, you know, maybe word of mouth can spread. That's like Impact's doing something different. They're a little different, you know. Maybe that you can get something out of that. But as Dutch Mantel says, if you always do what you always did, then you always get what you always got. So,
Dutch Mantel is a very smart man.
Yeah, he's not dead yet.
Or he hasn't lost his brain cells yet either.
No, he's still got it. And you can still, I believe he still does a podcast too, so you can check him out. But you can always check us out here at Hami Media Group every Monday evening to talk about what Impact's doing wrong and what they could do better, hopefully. Where can the people find you as an individual?
As always, you can find me at all the places as well as Twitch at Miss Tia the Transarchist, and here every Monday night on the Impact Attack as part of Hameen Media Group.
That's right. And you can find me at Hami Media Group on this Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez, which is every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And we may just have a special guest, so you may want to tune in. You're not going to want to miss it live. And you could find me. You may have seen me on the Wrestling with Rip Rogers with Von Lilas and Rip Rogers a couple of weeks ago. Fun Q&A, and if you watched their most recent episode, then you got to see my friend Vic the Space Lord from the Ascension. He stopped in and chatted with the guys, and that's a good time. So you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling with Rip Rogers. What else? Twitch.tv/Opinion Haver. God of War is finished. If you did not see the final, the ending of the game, then that would be a stream that you can go and check and see how the entire epic story wraps up. Yeah, I think that's just about everything. Channelattitude.com for everything that you missed. It's got everything that we've ever done, in addition to everything that we're going to do for the low price of a cup of coffee. And that's even on the cheap side of a cup of coffee, because those cup of coffees can get pretty expensive when you just start adding stuff to it. So if you just take your basic coffee or whatever, put that down for one day, sign up for HMG Channel Attitude, and then, hey, if you want to get one of those fancy coffees, you can go ahead and put that down too. And then you can also sign up for the Russo brand on Channel Attitude. So now, for one coffee, you get a month's worth of entertainment, but it's not just that month, it's every month ever. So please look into that if you haven't. We do like being able to chat with you live, but that's a luxury. That's a privilege. And the real money is made at channelattitude.com. With that, for Brandon, I have been the vet Jamie Williams, and I don't have a sign-off line.